Hey cuties, I'm Miles Sexton, a content creator, activist, and loud and proud disruptor of the norm. On Our Private Bits, we talk about the things and people that don't get talked about enough, or at all. Trust me, as a sober, HIV positive, non binary person, I would know. Join me as I chat with people in my life and from around the world whose stories deserve to be heard. Maybe you'll learn something new, and you will definitely LOL. Our Private Bits is also part of the ACAST Curator Network. All right, cuties. Today on Our Private Bits, we are bringing back the OG, the all-star, my fiance, back by popular demand, Tyler Austin.
It's true. I'm back. I know. I missed it too.
It's really funny how much my listenership dropped after you stopped coming on the podcast.
I told you, I'm the funny one. Everybody wants some Ty. I get it.
Listen, Tyler and I can only talk so much. So,
I get really tired of listening to Miles talking home. So we needed a little bit of a break. I'm just kidding. I love you.
I love you too. But I'm glad you can come back. I think there's so many other things that we want to talk about, but life has been busy.
It's been very busy.
I think it's just been really hard for us to sync up our schedules to record the podcast and also just actually have time together. So
yeah, facts.
So here we are. We're in the city. We have a concert that we're going to see tonight. So it kind of all worked out for us to sit down and record.
And when Miles says it all works out, it was more I was voluntold that I had to come today.
Sure.
So
well, I mean, I am your calendar. So
it's true.
Yeah, I just put it in. Now, today on this episode, I think we wanted to talk a little bit about a question that we get a lot, I think, online, and I think from people that we meet is, do we want to have kids?
No, kids.
Oh, such a big question.
You can't return them, I hear.
You can't?
No, apparently.
Oh, shit. Yeah. I mean, I think this is a discussion that we continue to have, a lot. I don't know. For me anyway, I feel like it's really intimidating. I think I was so gung-ho about having kids when I was younger. And then now that I'm in my 30s and living the best years of my life, and life
why would
is
you want to
so
ruin
good.
that with a kid?
Exactly. And I don't, I'm not saying that I want to ruin it, but it's hard. It's hard to be I'm gonna give up my freedom to devote my time to raising a child.
It's also really expensive. And I mean, especially no matter which way we go, right? Whether it's surrogate or adoption, it's a long process. It's not like you can just go to Toys R Us and pick up a small child. Well, I mean, you could, but it'd be illegal. But I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah, it has to be planned. It has to be 2 to 3 years.
Totally.
I was talking to another queer friend of mine, and him and his husband are thinking of kids, and shared that it's about $250,000 for surrogacy, which is nuts. And then if they have to take time off of work, you basically have to pay their salary. And then if they want organic food or whatever, they've got to change their food or diet, you have to pay that out of pocket too. So, I mean, do you know how many trips we could go on?
I know. Do you know how many houses we could buy?
Do you know how many dogs we could have? Well, really, the question is, do you want kids?
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's definitely a part of me that really wants to have a little mini Miles Tyler running around, but yeah, I think we've talked about it. I think it's definitely something that I think that we want in our future. It's just it feels like a lot of pressure right now of being oh, we have to go do all of these things that we want to do, before that happens. And kind of what you were saying is I think that there's probably there's a lot of planning that we kind of have to
planning
do.
And a huge financial aspect too that we have to plan for.
Totally. I mean, our house is definitely not big enough because our spare room is consumed by my shoes and clothing, and so I don't know where the child would go.
I barely know where I go in our house, let alone if we have a kid.
It's a true story, cuties. Poor Tyler. He gets 10% of the house.
I think we should. I'm gonna start a revolution of Tyler needs more space.
Hey, I've been giving you a little bit more space. I put your Elvis statue out.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, kids. I don't know. I also was the same. I wanted kids. You know, I was like, oh, I gotta have kids in the house and stuff. And I was like, oh, like I'm really good with kids. I love being around kids. But the older that I get and the seeing kids with like friends of our age and
Mhm.
stuff, and then like seeing all the bad, like I know it's not all bad, but seeing all the temper tantrums out in public or like when we travel, I don't want to be that person on the plane with the screaming child or
It's
the
true.
child
I
that's
feel bad
kicking
for all parents with
hundred
children on
percent.
planes.
And I'm not saying I'm just listing out all the like, negatives, but I know that there's other positives, but
Yeah.
it's huge. I
But
also don't want to be an old dad,
no,
right? I don't want to be in my 60s with a child that's, under
it's
18.
true. Tyler's turning 50 this year.
I am going to murder you.
I'm just kidding. 39.
Yeah, you're such a dick. Miles, see, this is good. Miles can't count. That's okay. Don't worry. Payback's a bitch, Miles, when it's your birthday and I get to throw you a party. Don't
I
worry
mean,
about
I'm
it.
always gonna be the younger one, so, I mean,
I'm gonna return you for a younger model.
yeah, okay. So, I mean, but you've had a little bit of practice though, because, like,
I have had practice. I mean,
you were in a relationship and they had 2 kids, right?
I've had multiple relationships with kids.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, my last, you know, relationship with a girl, had two kids, different age range too.
Mhm,
Like the oldest was, I think like 8, 9 when we split, and the
mhm,
youngest was going on 4. So when we got together, the youngest was, like toddler, like 2,
mhm.
like turning 2 and 6. So
How did you find it?
I kind of loved it.
Yeah?
I definitely loved it. I loved like the dad vibes and stuff. It's so crazy to I think the joys of the innocence. So like when you take them to some place for the first time, but you've been so many times, but to watch them experience it and like that happiness, like
Mhm.
it just is a whole other level of pure joy, I guess, of like watching that.
That's so cute.
It is cute.
What did you struggle with?
Okay, I thought I was gonna struggle a lot with the puke,
Yeah,
but that you get that out of real quick.
totally.
And, shockingly, I don't understand how a child can vomit like 3 times their body weight. Like that I would re every parent out there, like, "Can you explain this to me?" It's like they throw up their entire existence. Like, it's never just like a little bit of puke and then, whatever. It's like everything that they've eaten for the last 7 years comes out.
Oh
I don't know, and
god.
it's funny, like, bath time is always really funny.
Yeah.
My ex's kid, had a song that, they would sing in the bathtub if they had to poop. It was great.
Oh,
Mm.
how did it go?
I can't remember, but it was basically screaming at the top of their lungs that I have to poop while playing with Barbies.
I mean, I feel like when I was a child, I would just, like, poop in the bathtub.
I feel like you just did that this morning, did you not? In the shower?
That's for another podcast episode. Can't believe you brought that
Well, payback.
up.
I'm 50 though, right? I may be 50, at least I don't need Depends on a regular basis there, babe.
Listen, I have a dairy intolerance and I ate too many brownies yesterday.
Okay, anyways. Yeah, I don't know, but having kids is, it was fun. I mean, there was definitely like tough times, right? Like the homework struggle. I
Mhm.
feel like that's every payback when you struggle with with homework and don't want to do it, and then
Yeah.
you're forcing it. But again, like the relationship that I had, the kids spent like every other week with us.
Okay. So you had
So
a bit of a break.
you had a little bit of a break, but at the same time, like I feel like when they came back, like the youngest really had a hard time getting back into like our routine
Mhm.
and would just um, like my ex's ex didn't like me very much. So
Mhm.
like, the kid would come home and, basically like absolutely hate me because they would feed her.
Oh,
But I feel like that's different, right? With your own
yeah.
kid. You don't have unless I tell lies about how you don't poop yourself to our kids, but
Mhm. It's okay, just send them over to your mom's house, every other week, so
every other day. No, but
Imagine.
I think we have to think in the long terms too of, we are lucky enough to have my mom that lives with us, like a
Mhm.
built-in babysitter almost, even though
Yeah.
she's getting older,
Yeah.
but just come over to relieve some space.
Yeah. So what do you think? Like, what do you lean more towards, like, adoption or, like, surrogacy?
I'm really torn because as much as like, you can still donate your little swimmers there, we can have them mini little Miles. It'd be cute to have, something that's half biologically ours, I guess.
Hmm.
But adoption, I feel like there's a lot of kids out there that do need homes,
Yeah.
right? I mean, after adopting our dog, I don't know whether I could go through breaking all those bad habits again with a child. That was
Well,
rough. If
hopefully.
if adopting a dog is any form of how adopting a child's gonna go, I don't know whether I'm mentally prepared for that yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, hopefully the child wouldn't be like the spawn of Satan like our dog was and wanted to just
Well, that's
murder
when we
us.
roll the dice.
So, no.
No, I feel like either way. I feel like there's a lot of things that go with both, right?
Hmm.
I mean, if we go with surrogacy, we have, from birth,
Hmm.
right? And I think there's something going through that period. I don't know whether I want to miss the baby phase.
Yeah.
Part of me doesn't want the diaper phase, but then a part of me does.
I don't know. That's not that bad.
The diaper phase?
Yeah,
Well, I
I don't
gotta
know. I
clean
raised my
yours.
brothers and sisters. So it was like, never bothered me.
Mhm.
Like I had to clean a lot of diapers growing up as
Yeah.
the eldest child.
Yeah. And then adoption, I feel like that just comes along with, what's the age range we'd like to adopt?
Hmm.
Because it's the same, right? Like older kids don't really get fallen in there. Would we adopt one or two?
Totally. That's tough. Like, I mean, I'm like you. I feel like I would want to lean more into the surrogacy, but I know it's like so expensive
So
and it's really
expensive.
complicated because like in Canada, you can't pay someone to be your surrogate. So like a lot of people have to actually like do it outside of Canada and like
There's agencies now that help out with that.
yeah,
But again, that's where you get like the
yeah,
price is so
totally.
astronomical.
It's yeah, it's a very gray area, I think around that and definitely would be a lot easier if we had someone that, wanted to, but
I mean, you're sober. I can't even just convince you to get like just a few drinks, send you into a bar and pick up somebody for the night.
I mean, I can just come in a cup. So
I just go in a cup. You want me to roll? You want me to keep the cup close to my chest and run it down the hall?
yeah,
Like, what is
exactly.
happening? Well, what's that movie? If These Walls Could Talk, with Ellen DeGeneres and Shannon Stone or
Haven't
Sharon
seen it,
Stone.
but
No,
no.
no,
Mm.
too bad. It was pretty funny.
But I don't know. And it's like I think like in terms of adoption, like I agree with you. I think that there's like so many children that need a home, but I don't know. It's like it's weird. Like I feel like I have a lot of like feelings of like I guess ego coming up of like wanting it to
Be yours.
be a part of me. And I don't know. Like I think it's just like it's a weird thing. I think when you think about just like death and life and like I'm like, is this the last like part of me that's going to be in this world? Like does it end with me? And like
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know why I think about that a lot and like
Yeah, whether you get
what
to
am I
carry the
leaving
name on.
behind?
Yeah.
And well, just like not even my name, but just like I don't know, this part of my genetics or whatever that is. I don't know if I'm
I'm
sounding like
I'm
a
uh
narcissist right now, but like I don't know.
No, it's true though. I mean, really, like if you think about all of our grandparents and parents, right? They created such big families, so the family name of like, for farming or for business and
Totally.
all that can carry on, right? Like you're
Totally. I mean,
setting you're
especially for
setting
you,
your
like,
child up.
you're an only child, so it's like
It dies with
it
me.
dies with you. And like, I mean, I have siblings, but still, it's like
Mhm.
I don't know, it's a weird I not weird, but an interesting idea to like think about.
I've thought about that too. My main thought process is who's gonna put me in a retirement home because I know you're already gonna trade me in for a younger model at some point.
Yeah, okay. Please. We're gonna be like what was like that movie like Bad Grandpa or like
Oh, 100% bad
Naughty
grandpa.
Grandpa?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
bad.
gonna be you. You're gonna be like a little tattooed head spinster in
Gonna be
your like
going to
muscle
s I'm
car.
gonna be going to spring break
Yeah, exactly.
2086, some Depends and a wife beater.
And I'll be at some feng shui retreat.
Pretty much. Sounds about right.
Oh, that's funny. But like, I guess like going back a little bit too, I kind of wanted to ask you like, but before you started your transition, like, did you think about at all like about having kids and like did that hinder your transition like at all for you?
No, I transitioned so young that no.
Hmm.
I think I was more.
You didn't think about it at all then?
Not really. I mean, I was such a late bloomer that I mean, my doctor asked me if I wanted to like freeze my eggs, but I
Hmm.
never had a period or anything. So
Yeah.
I think that was possible. And at 16, I feel like there was some legal issues with me trying to freeze my eggs.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't, it wasn't really I didn't really think about it.
Do you remember like how you felt like when the doctor asked you that?
No, not like,
No.
I don't think I was very phased, but again,
Yeah.
at, 16, I don't think you're really thinking about
Hmm.
that
And then when you had your vasectomy, did you
vasectomy.
vasectomy? No.
No, I had a hysterectomy.
Hysterectomy.
Body parts are also not Miles of strong. Like, it's a good thing you're not a doctor. Jesus Christ. If somebody can send Miles an anatomy book, that would be great. Yeah, that'd be great. No, I had a full hysterectomy, yeah.
Yeah, but when you were going in to get that surgery, did you think about that at all?
No, because again, I never really had a period or
Mhm.
testosterone, so I had no egg production or anything
Yeah.
like that. And like me getting my hysterectomy was more out of for health reasons.
Mhm.
Like my uterine lining started to like basically like deteriorate and
Yeah.
fall out. So it had to be taken out. So again, like I don't even know whether I even had like egg production.
Yeah.
So again, like
Totally.
no, no.
No, it's interesting because I think that there's like, you know, I think for trans men, there's such a spectrum, right? And there is like a lot of trans men who
Yeah, totally.
still, like they like can have babies and they have to like sort of go through that sort of journey, I guess, like within their relationship. So it's just interesting hearing your perspective
Yeah,
on
for
it.
me, like
So
I knew I wanted kids, but I don't think it was a big deal for me to have it, like or carry a child.
yeah.
For me, I definitely could never see myself. I could not be the pregnant trans guy. Like
Can't
I
even
could
imagine.
not. I no ounce of my body. I do not.
Tyler is like grumpy like 97% of the time. And like I can't even imagine you fucking pregnant.
I just and I don't resonate with that either. Like for me, I was like not like I never want to be pregnant.
Yeah. Totally.
All the power to all the trans guys out there that have had or want to carry
Yeah,
kids. It mind boggles me. I'm not gonna lie, but
totally.
for me, no.
Yeah.
For me, no. And like again, I was just too young. Who knows? I don't even know whether I had egg production,
Mhm.
like I said. So
No, I mean, it's interesting. And it was like so on my side of things, I remember like when I got diagnosed with HIV, that was like actually like one of the harder things that like I think I had to process like as I was sort of like
mhm.
healing and coming to terms with my status was I guess just the idea of like, am I going to be able to have children now? You
Yeah, I
know?
guess.
And
Even though you're undetectable, is there a chance?
yeah, so I mean, it's actually really interesting. And if you look into it, like it is a little bit more complicated and it definitely has to be monitored. Like in simple terms, like yes, I can have children and like I can not pass it on, because of my undetectable status and the medication. But it's definitely like it is a bit more of like an intent like you really have to monitor it a lot with the doctor and like I was reading that like sometimes like the because of my situation and like my genitals and if I was you know to give my sperm to someone who is assigned female at birth to like carry my child like the doctors like put them on like a prep basically like just to be like extra safe. There's not like actually a lot of like studies that like prove that putting them on prep like makes it more safe
Interesting.
but because I'm undetectable like it definitely it does. But I know that there can be like side effects I guess like of my medication for both men and women and for
Mhm.
non-binary people like that it can impact I guess like getting pregnant as well. There is a bit of that.
Mhm.
Um, but it was also interesting, like hearing or just like learning a bit more about it because it's like I didn't realize either that like mothers can like pass it on like through their breast milk
Oh,
either. I didn't I
interesting. I
didn't
didn't
know
know that
that
either.
because I guess the child's like consuming enough like liquids
I
that
guess it's a
yeah.
bodily fluid.
Totally. So, I thought that that was something that was new, but that again would be like a mother who's not undetectable, but it it seems like it's more complicated if the woman has HIV than for someone who's like assigned male at birth. Like, has HIV
Mm.
to pass out. Like I have a better protection rate than than women from what I've read like so far. You know, there may be better articles out there, but
Mhm.
you know, that's just what I've read. So, you know, so that's a relief, I think, for me, because I think, you know,
For
that
sure.
that was like a bit terrifying and just like upsetting and something I had to sort of come to terms with. I think at the beginning of my like getting my status, I was like, oh, I don't know if this is a possibility anymore. And I think that that was really hard because I think it was something that's really
Mhm.
important to me. And, you know, but I think it's interesting now, like how us getting together has like, I guess like changed it. I don't know. Cause I think like we're so happy that it's like, I don't know. That almost seems like a bigger hurdle right now is like, you know, us giving up the life that we have and what we've
Mhm.
been able to build together to have kids. So,
I think the thing too is with like queer relationships, no matter what kind of queer relationship you have, is there has to be thought process. Like
mhm,
it can't just be out of like one night of like solid
totally.
passion, you know, and then being told, oh my God, we're pregnant,
Yeah,
right? It has to be like thought about, which I think like puts more pressure on making
totally.
that decision
Yeah.
than being, you know, whether you are a couple that, you know, can biologically have kids together and just, you know, you've talked about it. Oh, yeah, you know, kids would be
Yes.
great. And whenever that happens, it happens. Or, you know, you're actively trying,
Totally.
but even actively trying, you don't know when it happens, right? Like you just know that
Absolutely.
you're putting in the extra work there. So,
It's true because sometimes even, like, it can take, like, multiple years for the process to even begin, you
yeah.
know? Like, it's like there's a lot more, like, uncertainty, and it's really unfortunate, like, even just from, like, an adoption level, like, if you are a queer couple, you're basically, like, the bottom barrel of the list, and it doesn't even matter, like, who the heterosexual couple is that, like, is adopting a child, like, they will get first priority over, like, gay people, and, you know, we've seen it with friends of ours that are, like, adopting kids,
Mhm.
like, literally, like, a friend of ours right now is, like, trying to adopt a child, and they've been waiting, like, years, and they keep,
Which is
like every
crazy.
single time they get so close, the child ends up going to, like, a heterosexual couple, which I think is just, like, so stupid. I think people raise children, you know,
100%.
like
Well, I mean, people also raise hate.
yeah,
So, really, if that child's going into like a heterosexual home, that could potentially turn out another hateful individual versus
yeah,
somebody who goes to a queer couple doesn't necessarily mean that we're grooming our kids. I could care less. If my kid wants to be like anything that they want, they could be that.
totally.
I'd support them.
It's just unfortunate, you know, and I think this is just where we get these, like, sort of biases that,
Mhm.
you know, happen within a lot of these, like, organizations and
Have you seen the I forget their name on TikTok and Instagram, but it's like it's gay dads and they
okay,
have a son,
yeah,
right? And even though that they watch, I think their videos are so brilliant and smart because the kid is clearly like interested in girls. He's younger, but like, you
yeah.
know, he's like 10 and showing that, but he like will ask his dad's questions like, you know, what is drag racing? And obviously the dads are like, ah, it's like queens, you know, fighting it off. And he's like, actually the definition of and like talks about NASCAR. Like it's just so funny,
I love
right?
it.
And it's just like showing that spectrum of just because your dads are queer that your kids aren't gonna necessarily be raised that way.
That's so cute. Now, I guess, like, you know, I mean, it's still uncertain, I think, for us. But you know, I think we sort of said, like, we kind of if we do wanna start this process, we kinda have to, like, start the
Now
process within the next year, which
I
is, like, a
I
lot with the wedding coming up, but I'm like,
Mhm.
"Ugh."
Well, I told you, I was like, "We have to do it now.
Yeah,
We've gotta do it because by the time that we potentially could have kids, I'm
I
gonna be
was gonna
f"
be 60,
Oh
so
my god, yeah, and you'll still be shitting your pants in the shower, so here we are.
But, like, okay, so, like, hypothetically, if we were gonna be parents, like, what did you love about how your parents raised you? And, like, what would you wanna, like, pass on from your parents?
I just think, like, I love that my parents never put me in any kind of boxes,
Mhm.
so, like, I was allowed to play with whatever toys I wanted. I think I'd want that for a
Yeah.
kid, right? Like, I think there's innocence of playing with toys. I think that's where a lot of self-discovery comes from for kids, and,
Mhm.
like, We've talked about this before, of like when I was growing up and stuff, but like there's a lot of innocence that comes through that, and self-discovery through play, and I
Hmm.
wouldn't want to take that away with them. I grew up out in Calgary for the most part, so having the outdoor experiences and like getting muddy and dirty was encouraged.
Hmm.
And, my mom would always say that she could tell that I had a good day with the amount of dirt and bruises in the bathtub at the end of the day. Right. So I think I would just want my kids. I don't want to bubble wrap. I don't want to be the helicopter dad.
Yeah.
I don't want to bubble wrap the kids.
Hmm.
If you're going to get hurt, I'm going to tell you that you're going to get hurt. And if you get hurt, then you're
Yeah.
going to learn from it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like that because I agree. Because I think it's so funny. Like, I mean, it's just like a dig, but I find it so funny when people are like, "Oh, like queer people are grooming your children," but it's like, how often when we were kids, or I mean, maybe it was different for you, but for me anyway, it was just like, how many times was I told that I had to date girls, and that like every Disney movie that I watched, like, was about a guy and a girl, and it's like, I think that's just like really funny when people are like, "Oh, like, queer people are trying to groom children," when like literally we're being groomed to be straight since the moment we're born. It's like
100%.
our room is pink or blue. It's just like there's so much of this like I don't think that people think about how much influence they're just like already projecting like on their children.
Of course I don't, because why? It's quote unquote normal, right?
Yeah,
That's how it needs to be. That,
totally.
and like where did that come from? So, I mean, my parents. It's so funny to me that you've met my mom. She's
Yeah.
like, but both my parents were so liberal for being like working in the police department.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And they didn't really give a shit. I mean, they did. I mean, I'm covered in tattoos, and the biggest argument in my house right now is still
Yeah.
like my tattoos with my mom. Like, give it up. First of all, it's been 36 years. Okay, you're
Yeah.
not winning the battle. I could be out there doing a lot of drugs, but here I am. I'd rather just get tattooed. So,
Totally.
you know what I mean? Like, pick your battles.
Yeah.
I think that too, with like being a parent, like I appreciated with my mom. Um, was when I was in high school. Like, she's like, if you're gonna smoke cigarettes, you're gonna do it with me first, so I don't
Mhm.
look like an idiot in front of my friends.
Yeah,
Like if you're gonna like choke or throw up about it, like at least you're doing it here.
totally.
Or if
Or in, like, a
you,
safe environment.
yeah, or if you're going to drink, I don't care, but you're going to have the party at our house,
Yeah,
right? Or same with like smoking weed and stuff. It was like,
totally.
I'd rather you smoke here
Yes,
than do it in a park and something happen.
for
So
sure.
the whole drinking thing, my mom's like, "Oh, if you're gonna drink," I was like, "Oh, my mom thinks it's fucking cool. I'm not gonna drink." Like I didn't really
Literally.
start drinking until like I was, I don't know, maybe 23, 24.
Yeah,
Like,
that's cool your parents did that.
uh,
Yeah.
prolonged the inevitable.
Mhm. But what do you think, like, as, like, as a trans person, and I think for me, like, like, let's say hypothetically, we have a child and it gets assigned a gender at birth, like, how would you wanna raise the child? 'Cause I don't know, I ask myself this question, especially as, like, a non-binary person, it's like, how do I let this child just, like, be however they wanna be without putting such gender pressure, like, or gender labels, like, on the child, like
I don't know. I feel like I may or may not get backlash
that's
from
okay,
my
I mean, it's
opinions
your
here, but
opinion.
like I don't know. Even though I was assigned as a girl at birth,
Mhm.
through asked for a penis when I was 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was very self-aware already of
Mhm.
all that. I feel like if we, let's say, had a boy,
Mhm.
okay, and, like, that's what they were assigned at birth, I feel like I'd be okay to call them a boy or a
Mhm.
male or whatever it is and use he, him pronouns, but the moment that kid tells me or shows signs that, "You know what, dad, I feel, I wanna be a princess," or "I feel like a girl," or,
Mhm.
I'm she or her,
Yeah.
I feel like I would embrace that a little bit. I struggle a lot with, like, not putting things in boxes, but then like I understand what you're saying. Like I
Mhm.
know that there's parents out there being like, "Oh, there's no gender right now," and until they do, but I feel like there is still some social construct that, kids need to kind of grow up in
Mhm.
to like follow that until they know who they are.
Yeah.
Does that I don't know, does that make sense? I feel like it's contradictory, but
I don't know.
like I'm so for, being gender fluid and non-binary and all that, but I feel like if like right out the gate, it is what it is. Like I don't know. I feel like there needs to be
Yeah.
some kind of
I don't know. I mean, like, I understand what you're saying, but I guess, like, it's just, like, I feel like because of so much of what we know gender to be is what is taught to us,
Mhm.
that I, like, I really struggle with, like, trying to, like,
I think
put something on a child that is mine instead of just allowing them to choose how they want to
Mhm.
be in the world, like, I don't know, like, I look at, like, my little nephew Declan, and, like, I think it's been really cool, like, seeing how, Kareem really just, like, raises him in a way, like, he wears princess gowns and, but then, like, loves his trucks and his dinosaurs, like,
but
he's very much living between both, but, like, obviously they're,
it's
they
hit
raise
he
him as a boy, but it's just, like, I don't know, like, I guess, like, if I was a parent, I'm like, how could I do this in a way that I didn't have to be so gendered, or I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like, but the same things too is like I struggle with. Like I know our society isn't fully there. How are you going to put a kid into kindergarten,
Mhm.
and when they need to go to the washroom, if
Yeah,
they
totally.
like,
I
you know what I'm saying?
know.
If the teacher goes to put them in the boys' washroom, and they're like, well, I don't belong in eat. Like I don't. There's part of me I don't want to make it harder
No, I
for
know.
our
For sure, I
child, right?
agree.
But I think there's little things that we can do. Like I don't think I would have like a good old fashioned like either boy or girl name. I would want it to be very like neutral,
Mhm.
right?
Totally.
So that. But again, if we have a boy or we have a girl, like I'm fine with like rate like getting to that point until they say otherwise.
Mhm.
Right? And I don't know. I
Totally,
don't.
I know. I mean, there's no guidebook for this. I
No,
feel
there's
like
no. I
it's like,
mean,
I
I'm just saying from my experience being like a trans man and like
yeah, of
having
course.
like my parents not put me in a box, there was still nothing for them to help them like when I was a kid by like showing those things.
Mhm.
Maybe if there was, maybe I would have had he him pronouns just because my parents were like, "Oh yeah, no, Ty is
Mhm.
definitely showing this," and like
Yeah.
making that switch early where again, that innocence level at like 3 or 4. Okay, cool. I feel like a dinosaur today. All right. You want me to call you, T-Rex? Like whatever it is. I'm just
Totally.
being silly, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
No, I agree with you. Yeah,
Right?
I
Like I
mean
have friends, I have like a lesbian couple that they are queer women and
mhm.
they've raised their child has, giving them the information for both, like, being heterosexual or if you're feeling this way, like they've
Yeah.
really encouraged either in their house. And I'm pretty sure like their child is non-binary and identifies with they, them.
Yeah.
But again, now their child is like 10, 11,
Mhm.
12, but like has made that kind of realization for themselves,
Cool.
right? But still had raised them as a girl.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, creating our own guidebook, I guess.
I'm not writing a parenting book because I feel like I would just be burnt to crap by other parents.
No, I don't think so.
Our child's gonna be like covered in like fake tattoos running around our house, right?
I mean,
That's
obviously.
I think that I don't know. What excites you the most about like potentially being a parent? Like what would you think would be the most exciting part or like your day to day? Like what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's like what you said, it's just being able to, I think, like, show and raise something in the world that, like, that gets to experience things for the first
Mm.
time. Because I think a lot of it is, like, you know, we're so used to everything, and now we have this, like, this new entity that gets to experience things for the first time, and I think that's really, like, beautiful to watch, I think, like, as a
You're
person.
you're like giving the deepest like answer there, and I'm like, I just can't wait for my kid to say a word that sounds like fuck for the first time. You know what I'm saying? Like they're going, like, like that's like, I can't wait for that moment. Like instead of a fire truck, it's a fire fuck. Like that is the most, I can't wait.
Okay, well, good for you. It's a very, very tattoo tie answer.
Just those little moments that you're like, where did they come up with that?
I know. It's true. It's true.
I love your little political answer.
Thanks. Thanks.
The entity, I like it.
But back to my question that I asked you earlier, though, that I do want to say, I think like just what I really appreciate about my parents.
Yeah, I want to know.
You know, like I think like yours, like I really just like appreciated like the freedom that I had to sort of like explore my
Totally.
imagination and like always being outside and getting dirty and like learning and discovering things. Like I think that that's like such a big piece that, I think I would love to be really involved in.
Yeah, and again, like I'm not critiquing any parents out there. Like I know how hard it is, and I know like iPads and phones are just so easy to like
Mhm.
hear, be quiet
Yes,
for like 10 minutes while I'm trying to
totally.
have this conversation. And I'd rather like, I don't know, my parents encouraged me to bring a backpack. Like if you're gonna play
Yeah,
with toys, you gotta bring toys. And again, I mean
mine
like
too.
I had like a handheld Sega Genesis or like Game Boys when like
Mhm.
I was getting older and stuff, but I'd always just bring my own stuff
Yeah.
or ask to go out to the park instead. I
Mhm.
think I'd want to encourage that. I feel like a lot of learning happens when you're hands on.
Was there any like decisions or I guess like things that your parents like did growing up that you're like, I don't want to do this, or like I learned from them not to maybe be this way as a parent?
I don't know. I'm like, even though my parents are divorced, like as a kid, I never saw them fight.
Mm,
And like, I probably would say that I would want to take that and be that kind of parent too, because like, is even though my parents divorced, like my parents were always like a single fronted unit, So
mhm.
if there was a decision, like, or if they were having their own issues, like I never saw that.
Okay.
Right? Where I think that, if I did see my parents fight more, I would have probably adopted that as a kid, like
Mhm.
that, that normal
Yeah.
relationship has to fight, but I never saw that. Not really. I don't think there was anything from my parents that I wouldn't change, maybe other than like the fight of like, Tyler, you got to wear a dress. Like if my
Mhm.
kids telling me that they aren't comfortable in that, I'd probably listen to them a little bit more
Yeah.
and find an outfit that was suitable for whatever event that we were going to that was
Mhm.
outside of, you know,
Totally. Yeah.
right, to be a little bit like, if we were dressing up or whatever, right? If they didn't
Mhm.
want to wear something, okay, then tell me what you want to wear, and then like
Yeah.
find something in the middle that like both of us agreed. And I'm sure there's going to be parents that aren't going to like what I'm going to say either. But another thing that I learned from like my parents, I mean, I also grew up in like the '90s, so I
Yeah.
feel like not everybody's so soft right now. But um, disciplining our kids, I feel like oh god, I'm gonna say it anyways, but a good slap on my ass really like taught me respect because I didn't do it again.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna be the yes parent. I'm not gonna do the whole everything is yes.
No, I agree. There needs to be boundaries.
Like you don't get what you want by throwing a hissy fit in the mall.
Mhm. Totally.
How many times were you like told like no through a hissy fit and then didn't get to do what you were supposed to be doing? Did that ever happen?
Yeah, I mean, like
Feel like you were a brat.
I was a brat. I was definitely like a very outrageous child.
Uh,
Yeah, like I was so bad my parents had to like cut my bedroom door in half. So like I couldn't like
Your dad.
I couldn't lock the door, like, and, like, lock my parents out of my bedroom because I used to just, like, trash it when they tried to discipline me, like, I mean, nothing's really changed because I really hate authority figures and, like, people telling me what to do or, like, people bossing me
I
around,
have learned that the hard way.
so, obviously, it was a lot more extreme when I was a child than as an adult, but, like,
I
shut up.
don't know, Miles. I told you to stop manhandling raw chicken, and you basically told me to go fuck myself and like slam doors. Sorry, they didn't want to get salmonella.
I mean, more to that story than you're saying, but,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely it was tough. So, I think but again, like, I think it's like I think there's ways to discipline your child that doesn't activate them or, like, make them react so much, and
totally.
And I think it's like that was the one thing I think I found frustrating with my parents is that they weren't very good at like having conversations and like talking through like
I
discomfort
agree.
or things, you know? So it's like that's something
I think communication
totally like communication I think would be a big thing that I would want to try to practice with my kids one day is like, you know,
and like communication that they understand, right? Like
totally.
not talking down to them, but like talk
No.
and not talking at them, but like
Yes.
talking with them on
Totally.
a level that they understand.
Yeah, I agree. So, before we wrap up this episode, I want to do something kind of fun and
Mm.
funny. So, I want us to say to each other what type of parent we think that we would be.
Like, what do you mean?
Like,
Like, give me an example.
I like, okay, like, I want you to be like, okay, I think you, Miles, would be like this type of parent, and like you would react this ways in like these
Okay.
situations, and like,
Okay.
this is what I think you would struggle the most with. This is what I think you'd be really good at as a
Okay.
parent.
Okay.
Go.
I think Miles would be the dance mom.
Oh! That dance mom, I can't even dance.
Yeah, I know, but you'd be that mom. You'd be that mom that like our child has to like. You'd be the fashion mom, okay? Not the dance mom. You'd be the fashion mom
Yeah.
with your, fucking mom high jeans and your cowboy boots on. But like our kid, because you do this, like I know how you put yourself together before you leave the house every day.
Yeah,
Our kid would be top to bottom styled
100%.
every time we go to Walmart
Totally.
or to go take the dogs out. Like that, I know that's what's gonna happen, which is fine. And like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited to dress our little being in, Vans head to toe with their little squishy Vans shoes on when they're a little small. But
So
like,
cute.
I feel like you'd be the parent that like our kid, no matter what we were doing, is gonna be head to toe fashion.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I feel like that's what's gonna happen. I think you're gonna struggle the most with our kid. Testing you, like testing your authority or testing you saying no. I think you're going to struggle with. I think the steam is going to come out of your ears. I think I'm going to have to like count you down from 10 and put you in a timeout before I put the kid in the timeout. Yeah. But I also think you're going to be like the I don't know. You're gonna play the good cop, bad cop with yourself. I think as a
Yeah,
parent,
definitely.
as a parent, but I think you're gonna be the more so the parent that's teaches our kids about feelings because I'm
Mhm.
not very feelings. I don't
No.
have any. So I think you're gonna like our dog Atlas. I think you're gonna turn our child into just an overly cuddle bug, kid. So that could go out two ways. Either they're like I think like which would be really great. Like honestly, if we did have a boy, I feel like you would be very in tune with letting them know that feelings are okay
Mhm.
and like that it's okay to talk about feelings.
I love that.
What kind of parent am I
What
going to
what
be?
what kind of activities do you think I would do with them?
What kind of activities? I think you'd have like a range of activities. First of all, nothing that gets the house dirty. I feel like if like unless it's like all together like Play-Doh, like it's not allowed in the house. Like that's how. First of all,
We'll have to build a little like play shed in the backyard.
100%. But I think you'd be the parent that like we go on a lot of hikes, a lot of walks.
Mhm.
Like hands on picking up frogs and
Totally.
stuff. Yeah,
I love it. I think you're
activities.
pretty I think that was pretty
Is
accurate.
that pretty accurate?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
good, it was good.
So what kind of
Uh,
parent am I going to be?
I feel like you're just like I feel like you're, like, not gonna be a dad, you're just gonna be, like, the best friend. I feel like I'm gonna be, like, a little bit, like, I feel like you're just gonna be, like, the best friend with a child, and I'd be like, "Tyler, you should be the parent."
I think that's good.
Like,
Okay, maybe.
I definitely see that. I could just see you 2 just, like, running off doing your thing, and then, I'll just be home baking cookies or something. Um I feel like you'd also, like I feel like I could see you 2 doing a lot of, like, activities together, and I feel like I'll be turning into your mom in situations because like, you 2 will be coming home all, like, bruised and cut up and, like, dirty, and I'll be like, "Tyler, what did you do?"
Facts.
Yeah, I feel like I'll be, like, freaking out a bit of that. Um
I feel like I'm gonna be the parent that doesn't tell you what we were doing because I don't want to hear you like freak out ahead of
Mhm.
time. So I'm gonna be the dad that comes back and be like, "Oh, by the way, today we did this," and I'll deal with it after.
Agreed. I feel like I don't know. I feel like you'll be like, "Oh, I gotta work at the office all this week, and I can't work from home. I'll see you tonight." I feel like there's gonna be moments like that too. I think you're gonna struggle with like a bit of boundary time. I think because you already don't get very much time to yourself,
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I feel like having a kid would change that
do you
though.
think so?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I work with a lot of like other parents, so I feel like as much as they work, but like having that time. Like I
Mhm.
know like when my manager says like he's with his girls this weekend because his
Yeah.
wife is doing stuff, like it's like
Totally.
it's all like
Yeah.
dad time. Yeah.
But I could definitely see you being like, I don't know. I feel like, I feel like our child will be like terrified, like when they're in trouble to like need my help. I feel like there'd be I don't know. I'm like, I can be so like dramatic, I think sometimes with things that like
Miles
they'll
dramatic?
be calling
Never.
you to like come get them out of trouble because like they'll know that I'll be like freaking out. So
1,000%. I'm definitely gonna be the first phone call and the don't
don't
tell
tell Miles.
yeah, don't tell other parent.
Yeah. I don't know. But I don't know.
How am I gonna what's gonna be my discipline? How am I gonna discipline?
I don't even know. I've never seen you discipline someone before. I don't know. You're pretty direct though. Like sometimes
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like you have such a short temper, so it's like I think it'll be like interesting to see how that would
Mm.
like happen with kids.
Well, like being like quote unquote stepdad for a while, like
Yeah.
there's no fucking around. There's no
Yeah.
fucking around and finding out, I tell you that. No,
Yeah.
no, it's funny. I work with a lot of giant guys at work, and I
Yeah.
feel like my parenting style would be very the same.
Yes.
I'm gonna tell you one time. If you
Yeah.
don't smarten the fuck up after that one time, it's gonna be a little bit more stern. And if you want to test me for the third time, you're not gonna like it.
Totally.
It's either gonna be a timeout of some kind.
It's true. But I don't know. I feel like you would be such a good dad, and I can just see like even I don't know, even when we hang out with Declan and stuff, and all of us are like playing together, like I think it's so sweet.
It's true.
You're okay to, be a kid with them. It's nice.
And I'll finally have an excuse to go to Disney World because nobody wants to go with me.
Well, I mean, not going anywhere. Amazing. Well, I love you.
Love
Thank
you
you
too.
for coming on this episode with me. We are gearing up to the season finale of Our Private Bits. I can't believe it has been almost a year
That's nuts.
since this podcast started. And yeah, so
It's been a year of being the favorite. I can't believe it.
I mean, must be nice. All right. Well, thanks for joining. And listen, can't wait for the next episode to come out.